What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match review stream. It feels like Groundhog Day. Once again, Spurs have been taught a bit of a lesson, this time probably the biggest one of them all, as we conceded 6 goals at home to Liverpool. Scored 3 goals. So obviously the game did end 6-3. Sim was at the stadium yesterday. There was, protests going on outside the ground. Apparently balloons being popped inside the ground.
They were. Got it on video.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's in the vlog. If you go to the vlog, stewards were clearly being asked to pop. It was actually quite a weird moment where just like, I think it was when they scored the second goal. I think they started throwing the balloons down. There was maybe I wonder if it was just coordinated, like when we concede, start throwing the balloons. And I was thinking, if that's coordinated, obviously that relies on Tottenham conceding. Then I was also thinking that's probably a foolproof plan at that point, because you can safely say Tottenham will concede in this game. Anyway, I don't know. I can't remember if it was the first or the second goal, but once
it makes sense for it to be at the first goal, because there was a planned balloon throw at 24 minutes and we conceded on the 23rd minute.
Okay, well that maybe just coincided with that. Then that probably makes sense. But on the 24th minute, obviously all these balloons get thrown down. Then you just hear like so much popping, just pop, 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 pop all over the place. We managed to grab a balloon and toss it forwards. But yeah, it was there was a lot of popping going around. So clearly an instruction from the stewards to get rid of them.
Did you see much going on outside?
Well, at the time, I was at my nephew's first birthday party.
Big up to your nephew.
Come on. So we got there, obviously, about half an hour before kickoff, and it had already died down. But David was there, who I was with there at the stadium, and he got some footage of the protest. But unfortunately, I got there a bit too late for it.
In terms of atmosphere inside the ground, I was speaking to you obviously before about the Man United game, how it was like a really good atmosphere. You heard the noise on the high road just walking up to the stadium. What was it like in this one in pre-game?
Pre-game, it was pretty solid. I don't think it was anything like. I don't think anyone was expecting too much probably going into the game, but there was kind of like a good atmosphere. I think before the game it was loud and generally supportive, and to be fair, I know there were like kind of maybe at full time there was some boos and stuff, but I think in general the atmosphere in general was actually quite supportive. At 5-2, there was a big chant of Ange Postecoglou, and the crowd did genuinely, even when we were getting battered, did genuinely stick by the team, and it didn't really turn so toxic as maybe in other occasions when the game has been that bad. The crowd has, so it didn't really turn in my opinion inside the stadium, albeit when you've been battered like you have at full time, you will get some people booing, and I don't think it was a very loud boo, but it was definitely, you could hear audible boos at full time. But in general, I was quite surprised how it didn't really turn that toxic. Obviously, there were Levy out chants, the Kulusevski chant, people got going about, I don't care about Levy, that was going a bit. But in terms of when I'm talking about towards the team or the manager, generally didn't turn too toxic yesterday, I would say, which is, given poor form and given the game that we were watching, was a tad surprising. I thought maybe in the circumstance we were in, I thought it might have been anyway, but it didn't. So there you go.
It still wasn't a case of how we lost the game but we won in life.
What, like against Chelsea? No, it wasn't quite that. It wasn't like a resounding support, but as I say, we're getting battered, and we'll still chance for the manager even during the game. So I don't know. Maybe you can take that. Well, you can take from that whatever you want.
What was your initial reaction to the lineup? Because obviously, look, Ange is managing the team with both hands behind his back at the moment, but there were still a few options to him when you look at the bench. Obviously, Brennan Johnson was on the bench. I mean, I don't know why Destiny was on the bench, because obviously if he was fit enough to play, he would have come on. But Ange did say prior to the Man United game, then he will be fit enough to play one of the 2 games. He wasn't on the bench for Man United, but he was on the bench for this one. So I thought it was a bit strange but I don't know what the situation was. I don't know if he did mention anything.
He did. He said
the game.
he didn't. Did he? I can't remember. I think Paul O'Keefe said he's still not 100%. That's why he's not in the lineup. But I don't think Ange mentioned it. I'm guessing the situation was he was planning to play him in this game. Once it came obviously to game day or the couple day or a day before, He clearly wasn't quite 100%, but he was nearly ready, and he didn't want to risk him from the start. So he thought, I'll put him on the bench, and if, let's say, the game is quite tight going into like the last half an hour, I'll throw him on and give the team a bit more energy to try and get us over the line. Now the reality was
wishful thinking, eh?
Yeah, by half an hour, with half an hour to go, it was 5-1, wasn't it? So he probably thought at that point, there's no point risking him and risking an injury when this game is probably gone. So I'll probably won't put him on.
I was just like really worried when I saw the starting lineup, because exactly the same lineup as we saw against Manchester United on the Thursday night, which was obviously a big effort to get the game over the line in the 4-3 win in the quarter-final. And when I saw the lineup and it being exactly the same, I was really worried. Look, having said that, if Brennan starts on the right and Kulusevski starts in the middle, is there going to be much change in the game? I don't know, but at least you have one more set of fresher legs, I guess.
Yeah, I thought, obviously, before the game, I wanted Spence to right back and the doggy on the left. I wanted Decky back in the middle with Brennan on the right. And I think those are the only changes we had, didn't we, in our predicted lineup. So that would have added a tiny bit more freshness in theory. Obviously, Udogie, him not being 100% and him not maybe being ready to start changes things from that aspect. But yeah, could he have started Brennan from maybe he thought he's better off having keeping the same lineup, but having Brennan as fresh legs to come on. Maybe that was his thinking. I think he was going, what he was probably going for was, I'll keep a bit of continuity despite the fact that this team is on his legs. Keep the continuity in the team, and maybe if we can have a start like we did against Southampton and even Man United and Chelsea in those games, try and get in the lead and then have some fresh legs to come on to kind of add that little bit of extra energy in the second half. That would be the best way to go about it. Now the reality, from minute one we were dominated. From minute one we were not at the races, and unfortunately that never came to pass. And look, when you're playing against the best team in the league, that's always possible to happen, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. So could he have put Bergvall on from the start? Were a few things at his disposal to try and add some energy potentially, but he decided to keep the same team and try and get as much energy out of that team as possible, maybe for like the first hour or so, and then probably make a few changes, which was probably what happened, wasn't it? He made changes on the half an hour mark, didn't he? Brought on Bergvall, brought on Brennan, and obviously there was a bit of energy in that last half an hour. We got it back to 5-3 Bills, too little too late at that point. So that was his thinking. But yeah, once I did see the lineup, I was thinking, this team are going to be running on empty here, and we're not going to last. And I mean, we didn't even start. That was the worrying thing. But yeah, a bit surprised, but I can understand it. But yeah, I was a bit surprised he didn't try and freshen out more.
Yeah, and it was a big frustration for me as soon as I saw the lineups, because that Liverpool coming into it really fresh. That Spurs have been running on empty for a number of weeks now, and I think Porro just needs to be taken. I say this every week, but Porro just needs to be taking out the firing line, because he is getting dominated week in, week out at the moment. No matter who we play. Yeah, I get that, but I mean, I know you laughed at it yesterday, but I would have played Reguilon. There's no reason why not. When you've got players running on empty and they're just not contributing anything to the game, and they're targeting that side area of the pitch, then why not play Spence at right back and Reguilon at left back? He's an option in the squad. We're paying him wages. He came on in the last minute against Manchester United. So why not start him when you've got a player running on empty?
Because I don't know, I guess he doesn't trust him. He doesn't think he should be here, and he thinks he's better off not playing him. I don't know. Like that.
It's better off trusting someone that just clearly doesn't have the energy levels to cope coming up against the best team in the league.
That's how he feels. Put it this way, I don't think putting Reguilon changes much. Maybe at least it might. Maybe it protects Porro a bit more, and that's a valid argument. But in terms of the game yesterday, I doubt it changes much putting Porro in there.
But regardless if it changes much, at least you're getting someone with a bit of energy, someone that maybe has a point to prove, whether it be to Tottenham or to potential suitors in January in the summer. And you have the added aspect of protecting Porro a bit more as well, because he needs rest. You just know it. We've seen it week in, week out. We've been talking about this for like 3 weeks now.
I agree. I think Porro is completely out on his feet at the moment. I think the stats say him and Udogie have played the most minutes for Tottenham this season, and that is not sustainable in terms of what we ask from our fullbacks. We clearly need players who can step in for them, and especially in the Premier League, they shouldn't be at the top of the list. We should be able to give them a break, and especially add into the fact that because Spence is not in Europa League squad, they've also one or the other have had to always fill in on Europa League. That's obviously costing them opportunities to rest. And at the moment, clearly Porro for sure at the moment is running on empty, and we need to give him a break. Obviously, if we criticise him for not playing Reguilon, I mean, fair enough. But again, if we're talking about why we played so badly, I don't think it's because Reguilon wasn't in the team.
Yeah, but it's regardless. You're talking about player protection as well. And there is a player there. I know he might not be good enough. Ange doesn't want him here. We don't want him here. That's fair enough. But we know that Porro is literally running on empty and he's not contributing anything to the game. So how much worse can it get?
Okay, we could say you could play Reguilon, but are we talking about what are we talking about? Why we played so badly, or are we talking about how do we protect these players?
Both, I guess. We're talking about everything in the mixing pot here, and I've been talking about it for ages about how Porro needs to be taken out the firing line. They clearly targeted that side time and time again, and they got in on that side time and time again, albeit on the right-hand side when Spence, and I thought Spence actually put in a good effort, but I mean, the amount of times he just left Trent just on his own, being able to have acres of space just to get a ball. I mean, it was ridiculous, actually, how much space Trent had time and time. To be honest, all over the pitch, they had acres of space. It wasn't even just Trent. It was literally everyone. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, literally every single Liverpool player had time and space to do what they wanted on the pitch yesterday. It was actually madness.
Yeah, we struggled badly. Liverpool are also, though, a team who rely very heavily on the physical aspect of the game, and that is something where if you allow them to do that and dominate, and clearly they've got extremely technical players as well, they got the edges on every single duel. They were able to win those duels in the middle of the park. They're able to find those spaces out wide with regularity, with the likes of Trent and Robertson as well as flying fullbacks down the sides. Decky and Son didn't really help enough in that aspect when kind of tracking them back. The midfield three, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch are three very physical midfielders, and when you've had a week's rest like they did, and we were, played all our three midfielders, I think, played 90 minutes on Thursday, it was always going to be a massive challenge to try and just contain them and try and keep them at bay, and we just weren't able to do it. We did it. Well, I mean, even the first 20 minutes where they didn't score, they hit the bar, didn't they? They had a number of opportunities. The goal was coming when it came. Yeah. It was no surprise when they scored the goal.
I mean, from the first minute, Fraser Forster, after the game on against Manchester United, passes it straight to them.
Yeah, what's funny, though, was after that moment, I actually thought he played some nice passes.
He did.
So I want to give him a bit of credit, but yeah, you're right. He obviously tried a little clip in the first minute and gave it straight to Salah, and that obviously following on from
literally Thursday. The last person that you want to give it to after what you've done on Thursday night.
Yeah, exactly. What can I say? It was a bad day. It was a terrible day yesterday, no doubt about it. We were beaten from the first minute. That's the truth. And from minute one, they were far sharper than us, fresher than us, more aggressive than us. And we had a lot of issues to contend with yesterday, and we just didn't deal with them at all well. And had a bad hand, but he also played it badly, and that's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the goal was coming, like you say, from the 23rd minute they scored. I mean, it could have been a number of goals at that moment in time, but they finally broke the deadlock, and you knew from then on it was going to be a very, very long afternoon. And as it seems, Trent Alexander-Arnold, like I said, was given the license to dink those balls into the box, down the line to Salah, the crossfield ball as well. Like, how many times they were just trying crossfield balls towards Porro time and time again in that first half. We just didn't know how to deal with it whatsoever, and it's just ridiculous how a team can just do the same thing over and over again, and we just had no answer.
When you've got someone with the ability of Trent, it's hard to stop. We're not the first team to struggle against him, but obviously he had.
But the defending was embarrassing.
Yeah, we defended very poorly. We obviously. Knowing how we play, we're going to try and go for it. We're going to try and go forward and give ourselves an opportunity to try and win the game. And Liverpool completely exploited that and completely ran rings around us. We couldn't get near them. We were off our game pressing wise. We couldn't press them as much. They were just playing around our press with ease, to be honest. And once you do that, you find yourself in all sorts of space and all sorts of joy. And that's exactly what happened. Trent found himself on that right-hand side with acres of space, and especially when you've got Dragoshin and Gray at the back, they can't. When I think the Liverpool attackers were licking their lips at that proposition of taking them on, and I think Gray couldn't handle it, Dragoshin couldn't handle it. the fullbacks. I thought Spence at times did well, but he still was well. That's only his second start ever in a Premier League game up against Mo Salah. And as much as he did well in parts, there was also times he struggled. And obviously Porro, he's completely running on empty. I thought on the ball he played some nice passes, but off the ball he just really struggled to deal with Diaz or whoever was on that left-hand side. Didn't have the pace, and it was a difficult day. It was like every advantage Liverpool could take, they did, and they completely exploited the way we tried to play against them. We couldn't lay a glove on them, to be honest. I mean, there's not much else to say. Like they were the better team from minute one. It just felt like whenever they went forward, they could score a goal, and whenever they felt like scoring, they could, and that's what planned out.
Yeah. We did kind of drag ourselves back into the game just before half-time on the 41st minute with James Maddison. Lovely finish, by the way, from Madders. And that was the first pretty much we saw of him in the game, to be honest. I felt like...
Came from pressing, though, didn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought, on a whole, the pressing was really poor from Tottenham.
Yeah.
Really poor. I felt like it was just one man pressing at a time, no one pressing as a unit. I thought every time we had the opportunities to go forward, there weren't players going forward with them. It was kind of isolated, our players in the forward line. And that's not what you associate with Tottenham and what you associate with an Ange team, because we know that when we attack, we usually attack in numbers and we usually look dangerous when we're attacking, but we looked toothless when we were going forward yesterday. When Maddison did score, it was kind of completely against the run of play, obviously, and it was out of nothing, really. It was completely out of nothing.
Yeah.
Because the TV actually just... they didn't get the how we won the ball high up the pitch. It just went straight to Maddison, like with the shot, and it went in. It
was a nice finish, to be fair to Madders, but and that did come from one of the rare moments we're able to catch them in the forward line. We're usually a very good team when it comes to winning the ball high up the pitch. We've done it against some very good teams this season, even some of the best teams. Look at I know we lost both those games, but when we played Arsenal, when we played Chelsea at home, we did it on a number of occasions in those games. But yesterday, it was very difficult for us to do that for one reason or another. Liverpool were finding it easy to play for us, but that was one of the rare occasions we did, and we did make the most of it. It was a good finish. By the way, the second goal from Liverpool, it's just such weak defending from what's it called, Gray and Spencer, both of them going up for a header against Szoboszlai, and Szoboszlai was just was stronger than both of them and got to the header. There's not much Ange can do about that situation. A cross comes in, if that's one of our senior defenders, maybe they get a better header on it, but because it's Gray there, that's not, it's a situation where he struggled to get a clean header on it.
They kind of both went up and just bumped into each other.
Yeah, and it led to obviously the ball falling to McAllister, and he headed it beyond. Again, even in that moment, if that was Vicario, is he quicker onto that situation? Could he get to that ball before McAllister? Forster seemed slow to it, slow to react, and bam, it's 2-0. Yeah, we get, as you said, we got it back to 2-1, but it was little. And even though we got back to 2-1, there was more out of hope than anything. That I was thinking, can we turn any sort of momentum? But because we were just, you're right, it was completely against run of play. We didn't deserve to be 2-1. It completely flattered us. But you're thinking, 41, what was it, 42 minutes we got the goal?
Yeah, 41st minute.
41st minute. Can we hold out to half-time, regroup, and, see if we could get back in the game? We couldn't even hold out to half-time. But again, the third goal, Dragoshin, if he goes up for that header, he has to win it. He absolutely has to win. And again, it's Szoboszlai winning that header. He's a tall guy, isn't he, Szoboszlai? And clearly that's something they aimed at, because they went long to him a few times and were getting joy from it. He kind of played like the Havertz role, didn't he, in this game, where he's obviously more of an attacking midfielder, but a player with physical traits where if you give the ball to him directly, he's physical enough to compete with more physical players. And Dragoshin, clearly what we did after the first goal is try and gain a bit of momentum. We've seen with this team, haven't we, that we've scored in spurts. It's not the first time we've done that. Even against good teams, we can score in spurts. So I think that's probably what we were trying to do at the end of that first half. We got them a bit of momentum. Can we just go super aggressive and try and get a second goal before half time? Try and build on that momentum. And that's why you probably saw Dragoshin right up there being aggressive against Szoboszlai. But he loses the header, and all of a sudden we were in trouble. Salah is way quicker than Gray, Gray couldn't get near him, and all of a sudden it's like 3-on-2, and we were in massive trouble, and they exploited it again, and we couldn't even hold out for 5 minutes.
I know. I was literally after the goal. That's what I was saying on the watch. Just hold out till half time. Hold out till half time. Don't go into this game 3-1 down at half time. Let's keep this just to one goal going into the break, and we just couldn't even do that. Half time, I mean, I was calling out for changes at half time. I thought we needed it. You just saw like how dominated that we were getting. We need some sort of fresh legs in there. He didn't do it. We waited till we were 4-1 down to make the changes. I mean, what were you saying in the stadium? Did you want to see those changes at half time?
Yeah, definitely. I was surprised, especially how that first half went, that he didn't make a few changes, bring on Johnson and Bergvall. I mean, he's, again, limited options. It's really only Johnson and Bergvall. I mean, he could bring on Werner, but, whatever. He could bring on Reguilon. He could bring on the doggy. Maybe, I don't know if the doggy was going to be all right for 45 minutes. I don't know what the situations was for the squads, but definitely Johnson and Werner, I thought, but again, the problem is, Maddison has just scored a goal. Does he want to take him off at half time after he just scored? Could he? I was thinking, he needs to. I want to get Decky in the centre, bring on Brennan. But I don't know if he could take Sarr off at that point right then. I maybe didn't want to take off Basuma, so he just kept with it. And obviously, we paid the price. We conceded the fourth goal. But you look at the fourth goal, and it came from a situation where we're actually from an attacking point of view, we were actually in a good position. Decky gets in past the player. He's got Porro in acres of space to his right-hand side. And if he finds him, all of a sudden, I think there's a chance for us to get a goal there because he's in acres of space. He dawdles a bit too long. He loses the ball. Liverpool pounced on him like a rash. And bam, as soon as he loses that ball, we're in trouble because Porro's caught right up the pitch. And again, they're so ruthless exploiting those situations. They've got so much power, so much energy. They're so direct, and they just cut through us in that situation. And that's the risk reward that we play with. If Decky finds Porro in that situation, maybe we get a goal. But unfortunately, he dawdles, and it costs us a goal. And it goes from a situation where we were in a good position to a situation where we're already 4-1 down.
Yeah, regarding Decky, I actually thought, for the first hour, he was actually really poor. But then when he moved into the middle, he actually started to be the Decky that we've seen for the majority of the season. He was trying to make stuff happen. He was being physical. He was being hard to handle. Got his goal as well. 5-5 now for Decky. But yeah, that first hour of Decky, every time he got the ball, he seemed to lose it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was difficult for him. In fact, he was the one in the first half where he was actually one of the only players finding some sort of space in that front line. Porro was playing some really nice long passes to him down that line. But it just seemed as though whenever he got the ball, he was isolated. No one was near him. And that's not what you associate with Ange ball or how we like to play. We like to get players near each other. We like to create triangles. But Decky was getting a lot of kind of joy up against Robertson, I felt, in that first half. But couldn't really do anything with it and ended up just coming back at us and him losing the ball. And then that second half, it took him to moving to the centre to get any sort of joy and any sort of influence in that game for sure. Once he did move into the centre, he came alive, I thought, and he did definitely improved his performance. But yeah, I thought he was really frustrating for that first hour. He really struggled to impact the game.
So anyway, Salah scores again, 5-1 on the hour mark. Some more really horrible defending, but then again, the game was done then, and it's easy to say it, but we clawed ourselves a little bit back in the game, getting 2 goals in the space of 10 minutes. But I mean, when you're 5-1 down, was it 5-1? Yeah, 5-1 down at the time. That's when we started to play our football. But I guess Liverpool were kind of comfortable that the game was done by then.
Obviously, when you're 5-1, the game should be over, of course. But look, in terms of we started to play, clearly there's probably, a bit like similar to how Spurs did against Southampton. We just dropped off. They probably just dropped off, trying to see out the game from that point. No need to keep going and putting. They already have. I would say they got their foot on our neck. They've probably broken our neck at that point in terms of the game. So they did take their foot off the gas. There's no doubt about it. But you still have to exploit that. You still have to have enough quality within your football to get goals. It's
like on like Call of Duty when you're dying out on the floor and you've got that counter, but you can still take a shot. That's pretty much what it was like.
And we got a couple of shots off, but unfortunately we still ended up bleeding out. But look, as much as you could say Liverpool dropped off, and that's all probably true. You still need to have enough fight in your team and enough quality to try and muster something and try and get back in the game. And to be credit to the team, they didn't stop in terms of I think other teams, as I've said before, and even we saw this last season a couple of times. You know, we were 4-0 down against Brighton, and we made a late fight back against, I think, Liverpool as well. We were 4-0 down, made a bit of a late fight back, and you know, tried to get back in the game. I think other teams at that stage probably just give up and want the game to end. And credit to the team, they didn't do that. At least they tried to, you know, show some fight. And now that's the least you can ask for at that stage. And they did get a couple of goals, and a couple of good goals as well. You know, nice ball from Solanke through to Decky, and it was a good volley. And I thought the third goal as well, nice header at the back post from Brennan, cushioned into Solanke, good swivel and volley as well. And they didn't give up. They didn't just throw in the towel. They tried to muster a way back in the game. If Liverpool were going to drop off, the least you can do is try and take advantage of that situation, try and get back in the game. Of course, you know, at 5-1 down, it's obviously going to be too little too late. It was really unlikely we're going to get back in the game. But when we were 2 goals behind with 8 minutes, you're thinking, you know, can we at least make it uncomfortable for them? Can we get a fourth, you know, before stoppage time and try and make life difficult? Obviously, Liverpool then go on, and as I said before, it just felt like whenever Liverpool wanted to get a goal, they could, and they, like, you know what, they decided at that point, all right, you've got 2 goals back, it's probably enough, and we're going to just kill this game off, and they did with Luis Diaz at the end. But at least they showed a bit of fight. That's all I can ask for this team. When you're 5-1 down, when you're in the situation that we're in, when you're completely depleted, it would have been easy for this team to completely give up and want the game to end and just want to see this, do damage limitation, right? And just see the game out 5-1 and just try and, all right, at that point say no more goals conceded and sharp shop. They didn't do that. They still kept trying to get back in the game. They kept trying to attack and get goals. And credit to the team because they did get 2 goals. And that's as much you can say. You know, Liverpool dropped off and whatever, and Liverpool allowed us back in the game. You still got to take advantage of that situation. You still got to have enough about you to do that, and we did got 2 goals. So credit where credit's due on that front. But of course, it was you know, it was 10
minutes in a 90-minute match.
I mean, yeah, and of course Liverpool dropped us in. I'm not saying that's, you know, shows that. Yeah, look, it just shows there was enough fight in that team to try and get back in the game at that point. But of course, it was never going to be a situation where we were going to get anything out of the game, even at that point.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, but it was just embarrassing. The whole game was embarrassing. Maybe, yeah, for 10 minutes we showed fight against a Liverpool team that completely dropped off and were at gear 1 or gear 2, whatever gear that they were playing at. Fair enough, but
I think my point is other teams would have completely just given up at that point, and we didn't. So you deserve a little bit of credit for that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not going to give the team credit for conceding 6 goals at home where it could have been 9 or 10 or even 11. I mean, literally, they could have scored however many goals they wanted to that day. Literally. And that's how embarrassing it was. And I don't care how many injuries or the situations coming into the game. They're all still professional footballers, and they should not be conceding that many chances and conceding that many goals at home, no matter who you're playing against. And that is the reality. Like, you can't be doing that. When's the last time we conceded 6 goals at home?
Don't know.
A long time ago. A very long time ago. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough at all. And we're just getting open up at will by a Liverpool team who probably had their easiest day at the office all season. Easiest day at the office. They've been brilliant all season. I'm not going to lie. They've been very consistent. But I think they haven't scored more than 3 goals all season in the game in the Premier League.
Well, they beat Leverkusen 4-0 in the Champions League.
That's in the Premier League.
Yeah, but that's no easy feat.
Yeah, fine.
Won the Bundesliga last season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough to them. But you know, in the Premier League, they haven't scored more than 3 goals against anyone, and they've created 9 big chances. They've scored 6 goals, and they've made us look like a pub team. That's what they did yesterday, a complete pub team. And how can anyone look at any facets of that game in a positive light is beyond me.
My only point, I'm not saying we deserve credit for how we played or we weren't a shit show. There's no doubt about it. My only point was 5-1. I think most teams in that point probably give up, want the game to end at that point, try and just do damage limitation. And we had a bit of fight about us, and we got back to 5-3, and that at least shows there's still a lot of fight in this team, and we're still going to keep playing in terms of trying to score goals, and we didn't just abandon everything. No one gave up at 5-1. We still tried to go forward, and that shows me something. That's not irrelevant to me. I know we were down on our feet and we were 5-1 down, and we'd absolutely been battered and ripped apart by this Liverpool team, but the fact that 5-1 down, we didn't just throw in the towel, and we didn't just give up and show and and go for damage limitation. We didn't just stop trying to go forward. We didn't abandon our football. That shows me something, at least. That you've got to take little things when you've been battered like we have yesterday, and that's a little thing I take away from it.
I mean, you don't have to take little things. Maybe you just call it how it is, and it was just a complete disaster class for 90 minutes.
And I don't disagree with that, but you do have to take little things. Of course you do. That in every game you have to take what you can, and that's probably what Ange will take away from that. In terms of look, there's no doubt about it. It was disgraceful, the performance. I'm not disagreeing. We got ripped apart. Liverpool completely opened us up at will. I'm not denying any of that. It was terrible. It was a shit show from start to finish. But a little thing you can take away from it is that this team haven't abandoned, how we tried to play, even in a really tough time like that. At 5-1 down, you're being ripped apart by the best team in the league. We still stuck to it, and we still tried to go forward and hurt them. And we did get a couple of goals out of it, and that shows me something little in that game, in that absolute shower of shit that we saw yesterday. There was a little thing there that showed me there was still a bit of fight in this team, even under all the circumstances. So that's a little thing I take away.
Have you ever seen us get battered like that at home? Like I don't remember. We lost to Liverpool 4-0. What was the last AVB game?
We've lost
5-0. I think AVB lost his job after that game, didn't he?
He did. That was his last.
I'm sure we've been battered at home since then. Must have done a few times.
7-2 against Bayern.
Bayern 7-2.
7-2 against Bayern. Under Conte Mourinho, I don't think we ever had a big battering. That's because we didn't. They were kind of defensive managers, so we lost. We would have a lot of bad losses, but it would never turn into batterings. But that's obviously when you play the way Ange plays. If you're off it, that's obviously always a possibility. You can have that kind of result, and obviously when you're off it, when you play with the Conte or Mourinho and you're off it, what's going to happen is you lose probably 2-0, but you don't have a shot on target. That's what it means to be off it under them. When you're off it, when you're playing an attacking manager. That showed even under Pochettino in that performance. When you're off it and you're playing with a lot of risk, that can happen. And that obviously it happened yesterday, and to bad effect, no doubt about it. And we got absolutely trounced. But the circumstances are they are the best team in the league. They are top of the league at the moment. They're top of the Champions League, having won, I think, every game in the Champions League as well. They're a settled team. They got no injuries. They were fresh. They were well rested as well. Like a lot of these circumstances probably bled into what was the performance we saw yesterday, no doubt about it.
And with the team out on their feet as they are, another quick turnaround. Thursday, Nottingham Forest away, who are going really well in the league this season, 4th in the league table. I mean, what do we do? What do we do going into Thursday? Do we have options to change it? I'm guessing Destiny surely should be fit going into the game.
Hopefully the fact he didn't play at all yesterday means that Andrew's thinking about maybe putting him in on Thursday.
Surely Brennan will have to start. I mean, there are a few options.
Bentancur comes back.
Bentancur is back in. So there are a few different options where
consider maybe
players that are rested.
Look, I don't know what the situation was with Davis, but I would consider if Davis is back, you can put him in for Gray, and maybe even start Gray in midfield potentially, and just freshen things up there as well.
Do you feel like we can go there and get a result?
Yeah, I think we can. Forest in great form. Don't get me wrong. Forest are 4th in the league. And they were 8 points behind them now. So we need to get a result really to try and get that. If we get a win, cut the gap to 5 points, and all of a sudden top 4's not so far away again. So can we get a result? Yeah, I think we can, especially with, hopefully a bit of a fresher team, a bit of a longer break. We go from a 2-day rest day to 4 days rest. So that's quite significant as well, the difference in the rest days, in my opinion. We've been, maybe we freshen things up as well in terms of get midfielders back. Hopefully, I don't know. Look, we'll see with the situation with Ben Davis, but he said he might be back for this game. So that could be quite significant if he's back. If we get a Doggy back, I would put Spence at right back. You put a Doggy left back. That should lead to a bit of a fresher fullback as well, with a bit more energy. And all of a sudden, hopefully that team is a bit fresher. They can really implement what Ange wants them to do. So, look, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not off the back of what we just saw on Sunday. I'm not going to be sitting there saying we're going to turn into prime Barcelona on Thursday and wipe the floor with them, it's probably going to be a very, very difficult game. But we know Forest, they're very defensively solid. They implemented a 3 at the back system on the weekend against Brentford and got a very good win against a Brentford team who've won every home game. So they're a team on form. They're confident. Nuno would like nothing more, I'm sure, than to put one over on us. But we've still got quality in this team, and I believe we've still got a bit more quality than them on our day and in that squad. So if we are fresher, if we do have the players out there to compete against them, of course we can get a result.
I got to give you so much credit, man, because I just sit here.
Guess you think we have no chance?
It's not about that. I just sit here looking at you being like, where do you find this positivity from? Where do you go into the depths of your body and find this positivity from? I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Just can't even compute in my mind after seeing what you saw yesterday. Where do you find this ounce of positivity from?
Get it from my grandpa.
Jesus. Grandpa probably still thinks we're going to win the league.
Well, look, I've got to... I haven't given up on Ange. That's the reality. So I still believe, as I've said before, in terms of where I stand with Ange, yesterday was a complete shit show, don't get me wrong. And maybe another manager would have taken a different approach and try and scramble the draw out of it and gone in a different way to try and get a result. But he's not going to do that. He's going to try and go for the win in every game. And that's what a lot of top teams do. They always try and win. Now, the reality is the way we have a squad yesterday and the situation means whatever we did yesterday, it was always unlikely we could get a result. It was always going to be very, very difficult, especially with the opposition we're coming up against. Now, before the game, I was hoping that the adrenaline we got from that win on Thursday might be enough to take us into this game and try and muster up some sort of performance. It didn't happen. We got absolutely sliced open and Liverpool completely took advantage of all the scenarios. But I haven't completely given up on it just yet, just because of what I saw on Sunday. I went into that game always knowing that it was possible, to be honest, and so it proved. There was a chance that could always happen. Even if we had our first team, there was always likely that Liverpool were going to get the better of us because they're a better team with a more settled team. So it didn't, for me, Sunday. It was. I said it before. It was almost like a free hit because I always knew it was likely we were going to lose that game. So I wasn't too surprised by what I saw.
There's losing and there's that though. There's losing and there's conceding nearly 9 goals at home and conceding the chances that we conceded. I mean, it's two different kettle of fish. Like there's losing and then there's the manner in the loss. And I think the manner of the loss yesterday was pretty disgusting, to be honest. And
yeah, we tried to win. That's why we lost so badly, because we tried to win the game.
I mean, yeah, you could say that, but the manner of the defending, I mean, Porro completely in no man's land, Dragoshin put in a complete disaster class. I mean, it looked like Archie Gray was the more senior centre-back out of him and Dragoshin. I know Dragoshin's not exactly old, he's only 22 years of age, but Archie Gray is 18 playing out of position from a midfielder.
Yeah, Dragoshin struggled on the ball massively, I thought. His passing was terrible.
That wound me up yesterday. Gray,
I thought, was just bullied, to be honest. I felt bad for him. Like, he was completely bullied by Szoboszlai and from the other forwards. They exploited him as well. They completely exploited him. Salah, whenever he got near him, great. Look, Salah's a world-class player. No doubt about it. He's done it to much better players than Archie Gray.
Best Premier League right winger of all time, I think.
I mean, he's got a case for it. Now, I'm not going to argue against it, but I'm just saying that, whenever Gray got close to him, Salah just bullied him off the ball. Like, Salah's done that to better players than Archie Gray, but he did it to Archie Gray yesterday. When you've got the team that we had out and you try and win the game like Ange did, that's always a possibility. And you could say, maybe he shouldn't have tried to win it. Maybe he could have tried to contain Liverpool, and maybe he could have tried and got a 0-0 or trying to, done something different. But he tried to win the game, and he paid the price for it. But that's the price you get sometimes by trying to take the game to the best team in the league. And we did, and we paid the price for it.
Massively. All right, well, that is the match review. Spurs got taught an absolute lesson at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday.